Cooperation is imperative for economic prosperity in West Africa, says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Interior Ministry generates 1.195 billion revenue in 10 months. The Transmission Company of Nigeria says 53 power projects to be completed by May 2024. Plus, oil prices regain ground after falling to 6-month lows. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us at this time. It's time to bring you up to speed with happenings in the world of business. I will start by telling you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has declared that cooperation is imperative for economic prosperity in West Africa, noting that lack of synergy between Nigeria and Benin Republic has been an encumbrance to mutual development. President Tinubu said this when he received President Patrice Talon of Benin Republic at the State House. In a statement by the Presidential Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ingilale, the Nigerian leader says Nigeria and Benin Republic share a lot in common, describing both countries as conjoined twins held together at the hip. The President said the two nations must have common economic principles and priorities as endorsed by the economic program the neighboring country is developing through inter-ministerial collaboration, and declared that they will support their private sector interest to facilitate prosperity in both countries. President Talon, who was at the State House to seek the support of President Tinubu on improving trade relations ahead of the Economic Community of West African State Summit, described the relationship between his country and Nigeria as crucial. He said Benin Republic is seeking stronger trade ties with Nigeria, emphasizing the free movement of people and goods between both countries. The Beninese president said at the level of ECOWAS, they will embrace free movement and integration, also need to prepare necessary ground for the African Continental Free Trade Area being planned at the continental level. The visitor, who acknowledged the difficulties, issues of smuggling has brought on bilateral relations between both countries, added that they will work hard to coordinate and ensure that Nigeria's interest is protected as they integrate the two nations' economies. And still on trade, Nigeria is set to start trading in services outside ECOWAS following approval from the Continental Market Authority. Having met 7 out of 8 requirements of the AFCFTA guided trade initiative, Nigeria, now on the last stage, is set to start trading outside ECOWAS as products will be exported to South Africa, Morocco, among others.
The most important thing is to demonstrate first to Nigerians that there is a market out there. And so what I've been calling for is, look, produce more. Let's increase productivity in this country. Let's increase manufacturing in this country so we can export out to Africa. And that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to get the gazetting ready. We have a timeline of the next 2 months. It's done. But before that, we will start the export under GTI. So we'll tell the whole world that Nigeria is ready, Nigeria is going to participate, in the African Continental Trade Area Agreement, and we're good to go.
And with the new act, the Customs Nigerian Customs Service Act 2023 that had just recently been signed and came into operation, you can expect a lot of things from us.
This is the right time, and I think that we will stand to benefit both economically and then to improve trade.
This is the greatest initiative among so many initiatives for Nigeria to trade under African Continental Free Trade Area. Gazetting it has actually shown that Nigeria is fully ready. Gazetting is the final stage of every law. That means part and parcel of our law now, so we can go and trade.
And the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, has revealed that the Ministry of Interior generated a sum of 1.195 billion naira from January to October, surpassing its budget target of 600 million for 2023. Tunji-Ojo, who was speaking before the plenary on the budget defense session of the Joint National Assembly Committee on Interior, made this disclosure on Wednesday. He added that his ministry is working to design programs for job protection for Nigerians. And now to the matter at hand. With Nigeria's debts standing at about 87.38 trillion naira as at Q2 2023, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as a matter of urgency, introduced a new culture of aggressive and efficient revenue collection to enable the country to pay its debts, reduce poverty, and close the infrastructure gap by setting up the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee to improve the nation's revenue profile and business environment. With the Tax Reform Committee's quick win report, the President directed the implementation of all recommendations across ministries, agencies, and departments, the federal government, and again, to discuss some of these issues, tax and revenue generation in Nigeria. And the latest report from the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee is Babatunde Oladapo. He is the Executive Secretary, West African Tax Administration Forum. You are welcome to Business Express.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, recommendations from the Presidential Fiscal and Tax Reforms Committee is somehow being reflected on the proposed 2024 budget. How do you see government utilizing these opportunities, as well as the potential, as if possible, challenges in all of this?
Well, it starts from the political will, and this government has demonstrated that political will to go the way of restructuring the apparatus for mobilizing domestic revenue in Nigeria by providing the needed support in terms of establishing the committee. And then just a couple of minutes ago, you highlighted the customs. A new act has been passed, which is a sure sign of things to come, because with that act, it means that the custom is being repositioned. So, as I mentioned, the political will is there. It shows that the agencies responsible for revenue mobilization and other governmental apparatus, both at the national and sub-national level, can take a cue from the support, because all along it's the political will that actually matters, and then we have the government who is actually supporting the drive to make domestic revenue mobilization a thing to stay. So for me, the challenges might be temporary, because change comes with challenges, and the business as usual attitude to the issue of taxation and other ancillary matters will definitely change, and people are going to resist. But that's a temporary thing. There might be a bit of discomfort in terms of people adjusting to new rules. But for me, generally, it's a good sign on the landscape that if Nigeria should go that route of implementing the recommendations of the committee, I'm sure we'll be able to lessen the burden of debt that is piling up. And then hopefully before the end of this administration, the first time in office, we should be saying that Nigeria is on the track to being self-sufficient and able to mobilize domestic resources to fund development.
Okay, without going deeply into the details of these recommendations, one of the key features is the issue of harmonization of taxes to avoid multiple taxation, which has been a deterrent to investments in the country by domestic investors as well as even foreign investors coming in. With these recommendations, where do you see revenue generation being? Is it going to be effective enough that we have central bodies rather than multiple bodies collecting taxes for the federal government?
Yeah, it makes sense to have a centralized mechanism for collection of taxes. There are agencies whose core mandate are not actually revenue collection, but by the way of doing their work, they come by some revenue. So it's a good thing that we are looking at harmonization. In your question, you were alluding to the deterrent effects that multiplicity of taxes has to on foreign direct investment. I will even say locally, small businesses have suffered because we have a proliferation of tax collecting agencies, which sometimes you find individuals becoming contractors, chasing small business owners on the streets, causing havoc, causing disrupting business processes. So for me as an individual, it's a good sign. Harmonizing that will make sense in the long term, because we'll now be able to see where the leakages are, and then we'll also have the opportunity of reinforcing the apparatus. Where you detect leakages, it means then you look at remedial measures. So it's a good step. It's been standing out there for long, and it's been ignored maybe because of the kind of federalism we run. But now that this current regime is ready to take action, I think all of us will be better for it, and the citizen will be able to pinpoint exactly who are the ones collecting these taxes. Not like the situation where you have several people, you are not even sure of who is collecting what. So it's a good step in the right direction. But like they said, the devil is in the detail. There has to be a very good approach to implementing this, so that at the end of the day, we will not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay, talking about implementation, Nigeria is also looking to increase tax to GDP from about 10.5% to 18%, more like in the next 2-3 years. What's the possibility of that happening? And if it is something that we need as urgent as it is, how can government get to actualize this, being a tax expert, not just in Nigeria, but West Africa, borrowing from other countries, how they've gone through it and the success stories?
Yeah, it's moving the tax to GDP to 18%. It's not an impossibility. There have been so much we've identified where the issues are. And one of it was the issue of leakages in the system. And I think with the work of the committee, they provided a very good template. It's just about plugging the loopholes. And I think beyond the issue of centralizing the function, the revenue collection function, and strengthening it, there has to also be, which I think has been more on the part of the FRS, the use of technology. Although some members of the Joint Task Board also are coming up with technological innovations. So it's key. Technology helps to reduce the cost of collection. So in getting there, the use of technology will be key and critical. to ensure that the cost of collection is brought down to the minimal level. And then also, we have to take a look at the skills of the tax officers. During COVID, we witnessed an upsurge in the adoption of online means by businesses to do business. E-commerce is the in thing. And it means tax administrators will have to learn skills like data analytics, be able to use technology to keep track of businesses. So it's also important to take a look at who are the ones, the officials, in terms of capacity building, so that it will not be a case of catch me if you can. So, and I'm sure with the body language we are seeing recently, we are on track to see that happening. So the 18%, it's even something strange that Nigeria, with the population where we had the tax to GDP, is that low. So 18%, I see it happening in less than 2 years, I'm sure, if all these actions are taken, because there are a lot of people not paying taxes. That's for sure. A lot of people are not paying taxes, while a few are the ones. It's predictable when you look at the revenue that comes in, you are sure of where the taxes will come from. In taxation, we call it the Pareto principle. 20% of taxpayers pays the 80% of revenue. And that has been the case. It could bring, it's a risky business because some of the businesses may decide to relocate. Some of them may close shop. So with this renewed vigor to make sure that everybody is brought on board in terms of fulfilling the civic responsibility of paying tax, I think we are on the right track, and that 18%, I'm sure, is realistic and achievable.
Okay, quick one before I let you go. The chase seems to be ongoing. You just mentioned that, yes, some people pay tax while others don't pay tax. For a civil servant like me, yes, my tax comes from source. It's deducted from source. How about those who are not in gainful employment where these monies can be tracked from source? What should government and stakeholders do to ensure to encourage voluntary payment of taxes? And again, there's been this talk about centralizing data where, as a civil servant, I'm engaged in some business, I should pay taxes on those businesses. But because there is no that data harmonization, I get to escape paying taxes on some other businesses. How can we, as a country, get to block such leakages?
Yeah, I was about to ask you, but thankfully you brought it up that there might be civil servants doing other businesses, and how do we get them to pay their fair share of taxes? The first thing is the social contracts. Government has to engage more with people in terms of what happens to even the little that is being paid. When people see benefit of paying taxes, they will comply. So it's important that the engagement and communication, such as the platform provided by the NTA, you should be able to, government should make use of those platforms to engage people, to enlighten them on the benefits of paying taxes. And I think once the confidence of the citizenry is gotten, I think the other is just a matter of details. Then in terms of data aggregation, I agree with you. We have all this data lying around. It's important that right from the central bank to the banks, to other institutions like the NIMC and other agencies of government that collect data, there should be a center point where you can have a 360-degree. Money leaves footprints. And I tell you, with the way tax administration is developing globally, there's no place to hide. And Nigeria should not be an exception. So
those footprints can be tracked and followed to ensure that those monies come into the system.
Exactly.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Babatunde Oladapo, Executive Secretary, West African Tax Administration Forum. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular point in time. This is a conversation that is ongoing. I would love to have you here again and again.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the Transmission Company of Nigeria says 53 ongoing power projects worth 122 billion naira is to be completed by May 2024. The TCN and power distribution companies with support from the Central Bank of Nigeria will finish up these projects that are currently being constructed across the country. The project entailed the delivery of 8 150 MVA power transformers and 19 1000 MVA transformers, as well as 60 MVA transformers, reconductoring existing transmission lines, conductors and accessories, as well as upgrading of the existing 132 and 33 kV substations, and construction of 33 kV line bays, while visiting 3 different projects in Lagos. Matthew Ajibade, the program coordinator at the TCN, mentioned that once these projects are finished, they will increase the company's ability to transport electricity by more than 1,000 megawatts. Oil prices recouped some of their losses in early Asian trading, but remained at the lowest level since June, after falling in a previous session on high U.S. crude output and gasoline inventories. Brent crude futures rose 32 cents to $74.62 a barrel, while the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 33 cents to $69.71 a barrel. Now, gold prices flat as investors await U.S. jobs. For more feed cues, let's now see how the commodities are trading around the world. Nigerian equities posted a very impressive one-day return as the all-share index for yesterday appreciated by 0.78%. It closed at 71,808.64 basis points, with investors smiling home with 472 billion naira. A total of 690 million shares in 8,014 deals were traded, and also the data shows a 59% improvement in volume, a 9% improvement in turnover, and 20% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization is 39.3 trillion naira. Guarantee Trust Holding recorded the highest volume of 76.3 million traded shares, followed by United Bank for Africa 74.6 million and Fidelity Bank 65.6 million. Now, a sigh of relief, you may say. Delay in gratuities and death benefits will no longer be an issue to civil servants after retirement. National Assembly correspondent Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports that this assurance is coming from the chairman of House of Representatives Committee on Pensions, Hussaini Mohammed Jallo, during an oversight visit to the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate and Pensions Board in Abuja.
From 2015 to November 2023, so far we have paid a total of 810 billion in monthly pensions. Payments of long outstanding arrears to pensioners across all the pension departments, most significantly the huge arrears inherited from the defunct and privatized agencies, of which we have paid over 50-something billion.
I want to appreciate this committee for your constant support and effort towards
This is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments and observations coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. Business Express returns tomorrow at 3 p.m.